My hands shook as I stared at my phone screen. The numbers didn't make sense. They couldn't make sense. Account balance: $38,247. I blinked hard. Maybe I read it wrong. Maybe my glasses needed cleaning. I took them off, wiped them with my nightgown, put them back on. The numbers stayed the same. Negative. Red. Screaming at me through that little screen at 2 a.m. 48 hours ago, that account had $127,000 in it. Money I saved for 37 years. Money I earned cleaning houses after my husband Raymond passed. Money I put away dollar by dollar, sacrifice by sacrifice, so I'd never be a burden to anyone in my old age. Now it was gone, and I knew exactly who took it. Relax. My mom will pay for everything, our first-class flights, plus the Dubai resort. Those words. I heard my son Darnell whisper them to his wife Rochelle 2 nights ago. I was in my bedroom at the back of my house in Atlanta, and they were in the living room. They thought I was asleep. They thought I couldn't hear them through these thin walls. "You sure?" Rochelle had whispered back. "That's like $30,000–$40,000. "She won't even notice," Darnell said. "She's got plenty. And besides, we'll pay her back eventually, after my promotion comes through." I should have walked out there right then. I should have said something. But I was too shocked, too hurt, too confused about why my own son, my only child, would talk about me like I was some kind of ATM machine he could just use whenever he wanted. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story. And subscribe to the channel to help us hit that big 1,000 subscriber milestone. Let me take you back to the beginning. Let me tell you how I got here, sitting in my bed at 68 years old, staring at a negative bank balance and wondering where everything went wrong. My name is Loretta Mae Garrison. I was born in 1957 in Birmingham, Alabama, and I moved to Atlanta when I was 19 years old. Met my husband Raymond at Ebenezer Baptist Church in 1978. We got married 6 months later. Some people said we rushed, but when you know, you know. Raymond was a good man. Worked for the Postal Service for 33 years. Never missed a day. Never raised his voice at me. Never raised his hand to our son. We had Darnell in 1985. He was our miracle baby. I had 3 miscarriages before him, and the doctors said I probably wouldn't carry to term. But Darnell came into this world screaming and healthy, and from that first moment, he was the center of our universe. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe we loved him too much. Maybe we gave him too much. Raymond used to say, "Loretta, that boy needs to learn the value of $1. But I couldn't help myself. If Darnell wanted new shoes, he got them. If he wanted to go on the school trip to Six Flags, we found the money. If he wanted a car when he turned 16, Raymond worked overtime for 6 months to buy him a used Honda. We weren't rich. We were working people. But we made sure Darnell never went without. Raymond died 7 years ago. Heart attack. He was 62 years old, gone before the ambulance even arrived. I thought I was going to die too. The grief was so heavy I couldn't breathe some days. But I had to keep going. I had Darnell. I had my church family at Mount Zion Baptist. I had my cleaning business that I'd built up over the years. And I had Raymond's life insurance money, plus our savings, plus the house that was paid off. After Raymond passed, Darnell came around more often. At first I thought it was because he missed his father, because he wanted to make sure I was okay. He'd bring Rochelle and the kids, my grandbabies Amara and Zion, and we'd have dinner on Sundays after church, just like when Raymond was alive. But then little things started happening, little requests. "Ma, can you help us with the down payment on the new house? We'll pay you back." "Ma, Rochelle's car broke down. Can you loan us $5,000 until my bonus comes through?" "Ma, the kids' private school tuition is due. Can you cover it this semester?" Every time I said yes. Every time I told myself it was what Raymond would have wanted. Family takes care of family. That's what my mama taught me. That's what I taught Darnell. The paybacks never came. But I didn't push. I didn't want to make my son feel bad. I didn't want to put stress on his marriage. Rochelle was a nice enough girl, a little fancy for my taste, always talking about designer bags and exotic vacations. But she gave me 2 beautiful grandchildren. That was enough for me. 6 months ago, Darnell asked me to add him to my bank account. "Ma, you're getting older," he said. We were sitting at my kitchen table. He had that serious look on his face, the one that reminded me of Raymond. "What if something happens to you? What if you fall or get sick, and nobody can access your money to pay your bills? Let me be on the account, just in case, for emergencies." It made sense. I was 68 years old. I lived alone. What if I did have a stroke or something? What if I ended up in the hospital and couldn't pay my bills? "Okay," I said. "If you think it's best." We went to the bank the next week, signed all the papers. The bank lady explained that as a joint account holder, Darnell would have full access to everything. She looked at me when she said it, like she was trying to tell me something without saying it out loud. But I smiled and nodded. This was my son, my baby boy, the child I prayed for, the child Raymond and I raised right. He would never do anything to hurt me. After we left the bank, Darnell hugged me tight. "Thanks, Ma. This is just for peace of mind. I won't touch anything unless it's an emergency." I believed him. For 6 months, nothing happened. The account stayed the same. I saw Darnell every Sunday. We ate fried chicken and collard greens and macaroni and cheese. The grandkids showed me their report cards. Rochelle talked about redecorating their living room. Everything was normal. Then 3 nights ago, I heard them talking. I had been in bed early because my knees were hurting. Arthritis has been getting worse lately. Darnell and Rochelle came by to drop off the kids because they were going to some fancy restaurant for their anniversary. 15 years married. I agreed to babysit, even though I was tired. That's what grandmothers do. The kids fell asleep watching a movie. I was about to doze off myself when I heard Rochelle's voice from the living room. "Did you do it yet?" "Not yet," Darnell said. "I'll do it tonight." "You promise?" "Because I already told Whitney and Jessica we're coming. I already posted about it on Instagram. If you don't book this trip, I'm going to look stupid." I said I'll do it. Relax. "How much is it again?" "The resort is $22,000 for the week. First-class flights for all of us are another $16,000. With the spending money, call it $40,000 total." My heart started beating fast in the dark. "That's a lot of money, Darnell." "Relax. My mom will pay for everything. Our first-class flights plus the Dubai resort." Silence. Then Rochelle laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. It was the kind of laugh that makes your stomach turn. "She's got plenty. She won't even notice." "Exactly," Darnell said. "And we'll pay her back eventually. After my promotion comes through." "When's that again?" "Could be 6 months. Could be a year. Doesn't matter. By the time she figures it out, we'll already be back from Dubai. And what's she gonna do? Take her own son to court?" They both laughed. My son and his wife laughed about stealing my money. I lay there in the dark, frozen. Part of me wanted to storm out there and confront them. Part of me wanted to believe I heard wrong. Part of me wanted to cry. I did nothing. They left an hour later, picked up the sleeping kids, kissed me on the cheek. "Thanks, Ma. Love you." I locked the door behind them and went straight to my bedroom. Pulled out my phone. Logged into my bank account. Everything was still there. $127,000. I breathed again. Maybe I did hear wrong. Maybe they were talking about something else. I told myself that lie and went to sleep. Yesterday I checked again. Still $127,000. Maybe they changed their minds. Maybe Darnell's conscience got to him. Maybe I raised him better than I thought. Tonight, I couldn't sleep. My knees hurt too bad. I got up at 2 in the morning to take some Tylenol. While I was in the kitchen, I decided to check my account one more time. That's when I saw it. Account balance: $38,247 my chine. There were 3 transactions, all from yesterday. Wire transfer to Skyline Travel Agency, $16,450. Wire transfer to Burj Al Moonlight Resort, Dubai, $20,300. ATM withdrawal, $500. Below that, in red letters, overdraft. Fee, $35. Your account is overdrawn. I stood in my kitchen and started shaking. Not crying, not yet. Just shaking like I was cold, even though it was 70 degrees in my house. My son stole from me. My baby boy, the child I would have died for, the child I sacrificed everything for. He didn't ask. He didn't discuss it. He just took what wasn't his and bought a luxury vacation to Dubai with his wife. $40,000. Gone. I thought about Raymond. I thought about how hard he worked, how many hours of overtime, how many double shifts, all that money we saved together, dollar by dollar, for our future, for our retirement, for emergencies. Darnell took it like it was nothing. I sat down at my kitchen table, picked up my phone, scrolled to Darnell's number. My finger hovered over the call button. What would I even say? What could I say that would make this make sense? Then I saw the text message. It came in 4 hours ago while I was asleep. From Darnell. Hey Ma, just wanted to let you know we booked a family vacation to Dubai. Leaving next week. So excited, the kids can't wait. Thanks for always being so supportive. Love you. Thanks for always being so supportive. Something inside me broke. Not in a sad way, in a different way. Like a door slamming shut, like a light switching off. I put my phone down, walked to my bedroom, opened the closet, pulled out the box from the top shelf, the one with all our important papers, birth certificates, marriage license, Raymond's death certificate, the deed to the house, and at the bottom, the folder I hadn't touched in 7 years. Raymond's life insurance policy, his investment accounts, the trust fund he set up for Darnell that I never told anyone about. All the things Raymond made me promise to keep secret until the right time. I spread the papers out on my bed, started reading. Started remembering all the conversations Raymond and I had about the future, about protecting our legacy, about making sure Darnell grew up to be a man of character, not just a man with his hand out. If he ever takes advantage of you, Loretta, Raymond had said on his deathbed, if he ever treats you like a wallet instead of his mama, you make sure he learns. You hear me? Make sure he learns. I nodded then, but I didn't really understand. How could I? Darnell was a good boy. He would never hurt me. But now, sitting in my bedroom at 2:30 in the morning, staring at a negative bank balance and holding Raymond's secret papers in my hands, I finally understood what my husband was trying to tell me. Some lessons can only be learned the hard way. I picked up my phone again. This time I didn't call Darnell. I called someone else. Someone I should have called a long time ago. The phone rang 3 times. A sleepy voice answered. Hello? Judith? It's Loretta. I know it's late, but I need your help. Remember when you said if I ever needed a good lawyer, you knew the best one in Atlanta? My best friend's voice went from sleepy to alert in 1 second. Loretta, what happened? My son stole $40,000 from me, and I need to know what I can do about it. There was a pause. Then Judith said something that made my spine straighten up. Oh, honey, by the time we're done, your son is going to wish he'd just asked. I smiled for the first time in 3 days. It wasn't a happy smile. It was something else, something new, something I'd never felt before. Good, I said, because I'm not the same woman I was yesterday. And Darnell is about to find out who his mama really is. Judith arrived at my house at 7 in the morning with coffee and a whole lot of attitude. 37 years I've known you, she said, marching into my kitchen like she owned the place. 37 years, and you finally decided to stop letting people walk all over you. I'm proud of you, Loretta. Raymond would be proud too. I hadn't slept. Not 1 minute. After I hung up with Judith, I spent the rest of the night going through every bank statement from the past 6 months. Looking at every transaction, every withdrawal, every transfer. What I found made my stomach sick. Judith, it's worse than I thought, I said, spreading the papers across my kitchen table. The Dubai trip wasn't the first time. Look at this. Her eyes went wide as she read through the statements. $5,000. Wire transfer to Elite Auto Sales. Same day, Rochelle posted pictures of her new Mercedes on Facebook. $3,000. Payment to Luminous Day Spa. The same spa where Rochelle goes every week for facials and massages. $8,000. Transfer to Prestige Academy. Private school tuition for the kids that I apparently paid for without knowing. $1,500 here, $2,000 there, $600 for this, $900 for that. All of it adding up. All of it taken without asking. All of it from the account Darnell promised he'd only touch in emergencies. That boy has been stealing from you for 6 months, Judith said, her voice tight with anger. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was planned, calculated. I felt tears coming, but I pushed them back down. I was done crying. Crying didn't pay bills. Crying didn't get my money back. Crying didn't teach my son the lesson he needed to learn. When can I meet the lawyer? I asked. This afternoon, 2 o'clock. Her name is Patricia Okoye. Nigerian woman, been practicing law in Atlanta for 20 years. She doesn't play games and she doesn't lose cases, especially not cases like this. How much does she cost? Don't worry about that right now. First consultation is free. After that, we'll figure it out. I'll help you if I need to. I shook my head. No, I've been a burden long enough. I'll pay my own way. Loretta, you're not a burden. You never were. But I understand. Judith squeezed my hand. What about Darnell? Are you going to tell him you know? Not yet. Let me talk to the lawyer first. Let me understand my options. What about church today? It's Sunday. People are going to ask where you are if you don't show up. I thought about Mount Zion Baptist Church, my church home for 40 years, the place where I sang in the choir, where I served on the usher board, where I helped cook for funeral repasts and church anniversaries. My church family knew everything about my life. They watched Darnell grow up. They celebrated when he graduated college. They came to his wedding. What would they think when they found out what he did? I'll go, I said. Everything needs to look normal. I don't want Darnell to suspect anything until I'm ready. Judith nodded. Smart. Let him think he got away with it. Let him relax. Then you hit him when he's not expecting it. We got dressed and headed to church. I wore my purple dress with the gold buttons. The one Raymond always said made me look like royalty. I put on my makeup, fixed my wig, pinned on my pearl brooch. I looked put together. I looked fine. Nobody needed to know I was falling apart inside. Mount Zion was packed like always. The praise and worship team was singing Take Me to the King when we walked in. I found my usual seat, 3 rows from the front on the left side. That's where I'd sat for 40 years, right next to Raymond. Now I sat there alone every Sunday, with Judith on my right, and the memory of my husband on my left. Pastor Williams preached about forgiveness that morning, about turning the other cheek, about loving your enemies. I sat there listening, wondering if God was trying to tell me something, wondering if I was wrong for wanting justice, wondering if a good Christian woman was supposed to just forgive and forget when her own son robbed her blind. Then Pastor Williams said something that made me sit up straight. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting people keep hurting you, he said, his voice booming through the sanctuary. Forgiveness doesn't mean being a doormat. Jesus forgave, yes, but he also flipped tables in the temple when people were doing wrong. Sometimes love means holding people accountable. Sometimes love means saying, enough is enough. I felt like he was talking directly to me. After service, I was heading to the parking lot when I heard a familiar voice. "Miss Loretta, wait up!" It was Deacon Morris. He'd been at Mount Zion even longer than me, 83 years old and still serving faithfully every Sunday. "How you doing, baby girl?" he asked. That's what he called all the women at church, no matter how old we were. "You look troubled." "I'm fine, Deacon Morris. Just tired." He looked at me with those wise old eyes that had seen everything. "Tired or burdened? There's a difference." I felt my throat get tight. "Burdened? Family trouble?" I nodded. "Let me tell you something," he said, putting his weathered hand on my shoulder. "I'm old. I've seen a lot of things in my life, and the hardest lessons are the ones we have to teach our own children. But sometimes, those lessons are the most necessary. You understand what I'm saying?" "Yes, sir." "Whatever you're dealing with, you handle it with wisdom and with strength. God gave you a backbone for a reason. Use it." He walked away before I could respond. But his words stayed with me all the way to Patricia Okoye's office. Her office was in a tall building in downtown Atlanta. Professional, clean, expensive-looking. Judith and I sat in the waiting room, and I felt out of place in my church clothes surrounded by all these important-looking people in business suits. But when Patricia came out to greet us, she smiled warm and genuine. "Mrs. Garrison, I'm Patricia. Come on back." She was younger than I expected, maybe 45, beautiful dark skin, hair in long braids pulled back into a professional bun, designer suit that probably cost more than my car payment. But her eyes were kind. We sat in her office, and I told her everything, showed her the bank statements, showed her the text message from Darnell, told her about the conversation I overheard, about the 6 months of secret withdrawals, about the joint account he convinced me to open. Patricia took notes, asked questions, didn't interrupt. When I finished, she sat back in her chair and crossed her arms. "Mrs. Garrison, I'm going to be straight with you. What your son did is called financial exploitation of an elderly person. In Georgia, that's a criminal offense. It's also grounds for a civil lawsuit." My heart started beating fast. Criminal? Like jail? Potentially, yes. If you wanted to press charges, the district attorney would need to be involved. But there's also the civil route, where you sue him to get your money back plus damages. "I don't want to put my son in jail," I said quickly. "I just want my money back. I want him to understand what he did was wrong." Patricia nodded. "I understand. Many families in your situation feel the same way. But Mrs. Garrison, I need you to understand something. Your son didn't just make a mistake. He engaged in a pattern of theft over 6 months. He manipulated you into giving him access to your account specifically so he could steal from you. This wasn't an accident. This was intentional." The words hit me like a slap. Intentional. My son intentionally stole from me. "What are my options?" I asked. "We can start with a demand letter. Basically, I write to your son and his wife, informing them that we know what they did and demanding full repayment within 30 days. If they don't comply, we file a civil lawsuit for theft, fraud, and financial exploitation. We can also report this to Adult Protective Services." "How much money are we talking about? Total?" Patricia pulled out a calculator, started adding numbers from my bank statements. When she finished, she turned the calculator toward me. My hand flew to my mouth. $67,842. "That's how much he's taken in 6 months," Patricia said quietly. "Not just the Dubai trip. Everything." $67,000. More than half of what I had in that account. Gone. Stolen by my own child. There's something else, Patricia said. The account shows it's now overdrawn by $38,000. That means your son spent more than what was available. The bank covered the Dubai transactions, but now you're responsible for that overdraft. They'll start charging you fees. They could also come after your house if you don't pay. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My house? But it's paid off. Raymond made sure. If you don't clear the overdraft, the bank could put a lien on your house. It's in the fine print of your account agreement. And Mrs. Garrison, I need to tell you something else. I pulled some public records before you got here. Your son and his wife are in serious financial trouble. They bought a house they can't afford. Both their cars are leased, not owned. They're maxed out on credit cards. Your son hasn't gotten a promotion at work. He's actually on probation for poor performance. They've been living off your money for 6 months, and now that it's gone, they're in deep trouble. The room started spinning. All those Sundays, all those dinners, all those times Darnell smiled in my face and told me he loved me. He was lying. He was using me. He was robbing me the whole time. What do? I whispered. First, we need to remove your son from your bank account immediately, today. Then we send the demand letter. Then we wait to see how he responds. Patricia leaned forward. Mrs. Garrison, I know this is hard. But you need to protect yourself. Your son is not going to stop unless you stop him. I thought about Raymond, about his life insurance money that Darnell didn't know about the trust fund, about all the secrets I'd been keeping to protect my son from himself. Send the letter, I said. I want my money back. All of it. We left Patricia's office at 4:30. Judith drove me straight to the bank. We walked in right before closing time, and I asked to speak to a manager. The same woman who helped me add Darnell to my account 6 months ago came out. Her name was Mrs. Chen. She remembered me. Mrs. Garrison, how can I help you today? I need to remove my son from my account, right now. Her face got serious. Is everything all right? No, but it will be. She took us to her office, pulled up my account, started typing. Mrs. Garrison, I have to tell you something, she said carefully. Your son came in yesterday morning. Before he made those transfers to Dubai, he withdrew $500 cash from the ATM, but he also tried to close your entire account and transfer everything to his personal account. My vision went white for a second. What? He said you were moving to a nursing home and asked him to consolidate your finances. He had all the paperwork ready, but I told him that as a joint account holder, he couldn't close the account without you being present. I refused to process it. That's probably why he just took what he could and made the Dubai purchases instead. He tried to take everything, not just some, everything. Mrs. Chen, what would have happened if you'd let him close my account? She looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Garrison, I probably shouldn't have told you any of this, but I've been a bank manager for 23 years, and I've seen this situation too many times. Adult children taking advantage of elderly parents. It's heartbreaking. If I had processed his request, you would have woken up yesterday with zero access to your money. Everything would have been in his account, and legally, there wouldn't have been much you could do about it. Why didn't you call me? I asked. I wanted to, but bank policy says I couldn't without proof of a crime. All I could do was refuse to process his request and hope you'd come in to check your account. She looked me in the eyes. I'm glad you're here now. Let's get him off this account immediately. It took 30 minutes. Signatures, paperwork, new account number, new debit card. By the time we finished, Darnell had zero access to my money. The account was frozen to prevent any more overdrafts. The bank agreed to waive some of the fees while we sorted out the situation. When we left the bank, I felt lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because Darnell couldn't steal anymore. Heavier because I now had to face the truth of what my son really was. Judith drove me home, walked me inside, made me tea. You need to eat something, she said. I'm not hungry. Loretta, you need to keep your strength up. This is just the beginning. She was right. As I sat at my kitchen table drinking tea, my phone buzzed. A text message from Darnell. "Hey Ma, can you watch the kids Friday night? Rochelle and I need to go shopping for the Dubai trip. Thanks." He wanted me to babysit while he went shopping for a trip he bought with my stolen money. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back, "Of course, baby. Anything for you." Judith looked at me like I was crazy. "Why did you say yes?" I smiled. Not a happy smile, a dangerous smile. "Because I want him to come over. I want to look him in the eyes. I want to see if he can sit in my house, eat my food, and pretend like everything is fine while he's robbing me blind." And then what? And then he's going to find out that his mama didn't raise a fool. She raised a fighter. On Wednesday, the demand letter arrived at Darnell's house. Patricia told me she sent it certified mail, so we'd know when he got it. On Thursday at 2 in the afternoon, my phone exploded with calls. 10 calls from Darnell, 5 from Rochelle, 3 from numbers I didn't recognize. I didn't answer any of them. At 6 o'clock, someone started banging on my front door. Hard, aggressive, angry. I looked through the peephole. It was Darnell. His face was red, his eyes were wild. He looked like a stranger. "Ma, open this door! We need to talk, now!" I didn't move, just watched him through that little peephole. Watched my son, my baby boy who I raised and loved and sacrificed for, pound on my door like a bill collector. Like someone I owed something to. "I know you're in there! Your car is in the driveway! Open up!" Judith had told me not to engage. Patricia had told me not to talk to him without a lawyer present. But standing there, listening to him yell at me through my own door, something inside me snapped. I opened the door. Darnell stood there, breathing hard, holding a piece of paper in his hand. The demand letter. "What the hell is this?" he shouted. And for the first time in my son's life, I didn't flinch. I didn't apologize. I didn't try to make peace. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "That's exactly what I was going to ask you about my missing $67,000. Darnell's face went from red to pale in 2 seconds flat. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but his voice shook. "You don't know?" I stepped aside and gestured to my kitchen table where I had every bank statement printed out and highlighted. "Come inside. Let me refresh your memory." He walked in slowly, like he was walking into a trap. He was right to be scared. I closed the door behind him. Locked it. Not to keep him in, just to keep the neighbors from hearing what was about to happen. "Sit down," I said. "Ma, listen." "Sit down." He sat. I'd never used that tone with him before. Never in his whole life. The tone Raymond used to use when Darnell came home past curfew. The tone that meant there would be no arguing, no excusing, no escaping. I picked up the first bank statement, started reading out loud. "June 15th, $5,000. Elite Auto Sales. That's Rochelle's Mercedes, isn't it?" Darnell opened his mouth. Nothing came out. "June 22nd, $3,000. Luminous Day Spa. Rochelle's weekly spa appointments that she posts all over Facebook." "Ma, I can explain. July 3rd, $8,000. Prestige Academy. The kids' school tuition that you told me you were paying yourself. We were going to pay you back. August 19th, $1,500. September 2nd, $2,000. September 28th, $600. I threw the papers on the table in front of him. "And then last week, $38,000 for a vacation to Dubai. A vacation you didn't ask me about. A vacation you just stole my money to pay for." "It wasn't stealing," Darnell said, his voice getting defensive. "You added me to the account. That makes it my money, too." Something in me went ice cold. "Say that again," I whispered. "The account is joint. Legally, I had every right." I slapped him. Not hard. Just enough to shock him back to reality. Enough to shock myself, too. because I'd never raised a hand to my child before. We both sat there, stunned. "That money," I said, my voice shaking, "is money your father and I saved for 37 years. That money is from his overtime shifts at the post office, from my cleaning houses on my hands and knees, from every sacrifice we made so you could have a better life. And you think because your name is on a bank account, that makes it yours?" Darnell's eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if it was regret or just fear of consequences. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "You're not sorry. You're caught. There's a difference." "Ma, please. I made a mistake. I'll pay you back. I promise." "How?" I asked. "Your lawyer says you're on probation at work. Your house is mortgaged to the ceiling. Your cars are leased. Your credit cards are maxed out. You've been living off my money for 6 months because you can't afford your own life. So tell me, Darnell, how exactly are you going to pay me back $67,000? His face crumpled. "You talked to a lawyer?" "You're damn right I did." "Ma, you can't sue me. I'm your son." "What would people think? What would the church say?" "The church?" I laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Baby, the church is going to say your mama finally stood up for herself. And you know what? I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. I'm done protecting you from your own bad decisions." Darnell stood up fast, his chair scraping against the floor. "You're really going to do this? You're really going to take your own son to court?" "You really stole from your own mother," I shot back. "So yes, I'm really going to do this." "What about Amara and Zion? You're willing to hurt your grandkids just to prove a point?" That's when I knew I'd lost him completely. He was using my babies as a shield, using their innocent faces to manipulate me one more time. "Those kids are going to be fine," I said quietly, "because unlike their father, I actually care about their future. Now get out of my house." "Ma, get out, before I call the police and tell them you're harassing me." He left, slammed the door so hard my pictures rattled on the wall. I watched through the window as he got in his leased BMW and peeled out of my driveway like a teenager throwing a tantrum. I sat down at my kitchen table and finally cried. Not because I regretted what I'd done, but because it hurt to see what my son had become. It hurt to realize that somewhere along the way, I'd raised a man who thought he was entitled to everything and grateful for nothing. My phone rang. It was Judith. "How'd it go?" "He's mad. He's scared. And he threatened me with the grandkids." "That boy has lost his mind. What did you say?" "I told him to get out." "Good. Now what?" "Now we go to court." The next 4 weeks were the hardest of my life. Darnell and Rochelle stopped bringing the kids around. They blocked my number. They told everyone at church that I was having mental problems, that I was confused, that I was making up lies about them. But Deacon Morris stood up in the middle of Sunday service and shut that down real quick. "I've known Sister Loretta for 40 years, he said, his voice strong despite his age. "And I've never known her to lie about anything. If she says something happened, it happened. And if anyone in this church wants to gossip about her instead of supporting her, you can see me after service." After that, my phone started ringing with people from church checking on me, offering to help, offering to pray, offering to testify in court if I needed them to. Sister Williams brought me groceries. Brother Thompson fixed my leaky faucet. The praise team sent me flowers with a card that said, "We love you and we believe you." I wasn't alone. I'd never been alone. I just forgot that for a while. Patricia worked fast. She filed the civil lawsuit for fraud, theft, and financial exploitation. She also reported the situation to Adult Protective Services. They opened an investigation. The court date was set for October 23rd, 6 weeks after I discovered what Darnell did. The night before court, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Raymond, about what he would say, about whether I was doing the right thing. At 3 in the morning, I got out of bed and pulled out Raymond's box of papers again. The secret documents. The trust fund for Darnell that was supposed to be released when he turned 40. That was next year. The trust was worth $375,000. Money Raymond invested wisely. Money that grew over the years. Money that Darnell had no idea existed. Raymond's instructions were clear. The money was supposed to go to Darnell when he turned 40, but only if he demonstrated financial responsibility and good character. If not, the money would go to the grandchildren when they turned 25. I read Raymond's handwritten note attached to the trust documents. He wrote it 2 weeks before he died. Loretta, if our son turns out to be the man I think he is, he'll get this money and use it wisely. But if he turns out to be greedy and selfish, if he takes advantage of you or anyone else, don't give him a dime. Let him learn the hard way. Let him struggle. Let him grow up. And when our grandkids are old enough, they'll benefit from the legacy I worked hard to build. Trust me on this, baby. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is let our children fall. I love you. Raymond. I held that letter to my chest and cried. Raymond knew. Somehow he knew this day would come. In the morning, I put on my best suit, the navy blue one with the gold buttons. I did my makeup, fixed my wig, pinned Raymond's wedding ring to my lapel like a badge of honor. Judith drove me to the courthouse. Patricia met us at the entrance. "Are you ready?" she asked. "I'm ready." The courtroom was smaller than I expected. The judge was a black woman in her 50s named Judge Franklin. She looked strict, but fair. Darnell and Rochelle sat on the other side with their lawyer. A young white man in an expensive suit who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The proceedings started. Patricia presented the bank statements, the pattern of theft, the demand letter, the text messages. Everything was laid out clean and clear. Darnell's lawyer tried to argue that it was a family matter, not a criminal one, that there was no criminal intent, that my son had permission to access the account. Judge Franklin cut him off. "Permission to access an account in case of emergency is not permission to buy luxury vacations and Mercedes-Benzes," she said sharply. "Continue, Ms. Okoye." Patricia called me to the stand, asked me questions about my relationship with Darnell, about how he convinced me to add him to the account, about the conversation I overheard, about the lies he told. I answered everything honestly. When I described hearing him laugh with Rochelle about stealing from me, my voice cracked. But I didn't cry. I wouldn't give him that. Then Patricia asked me the question I'd been dreading. "Mrs. Garrison, do you love your son?" "Yes," I said. "I will always love my son. But love doesn't mean letting him destroy himself. Love doesn't mean being a doormat. Love means holding him accountable so he can become the man his father wanted him to be." Darnell's lawyer put him on the stand. Big mistake. "Mr. Garrison," Patricia said calmly, "did you or did you not take $67,000 from your mother's account without her knowledge or permission?" It was a joint account. I technically had access." "That wasn't my question. Did you ask your mother before taking the money?" "No." "But did you tell her you were buying a vacation to Dubai with her money?" "No, but I was going to." "Did you attempt to close her entire account and transfer everything to your personal account?" Darnell's eyes went wide. He looked at his lawyer. His lawyer looked sick. How did you—" "Answer the question, Mr. Garrison." "I was trying to help her. She's getting old. She doesn't need to manage her own money." "Your Honor," Patricia interrupted, "I'd like to submit evidence from the bank showing that Mr. Garrison attempted to close his mother's account and claimed she was moving to a nursing home, which was a complete fabrication, 2 days before he purchased the Dubai vacation. This shows clear intent to defraud." Judge Franklin looked at Darnell like he was something she scraped off her shoe. "Mr. Garrison, did your mother give you permission to close her account?" "No, ma'am." "Did your mother ask you to manage her finances?" "No, ma'am." "Was your mother moving to a nursing home?" "No, ma'am." So you lied to the bank in an attempt to steal your mother's entire life savings? Silence. Answer the question. Yes, ma'am, Darnell whispered. The courtroom was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Judge Franklin made her ruling right then and there. No deliberation needed. Mr. Garrison, I'm ordering you to repay your mother the full amount of $67,842 within 90 days. If you fail to do so, I will authorize wage garnishment and seizure of assets. I'm also ordering you to pay your mother's legal fees. Additionally, I'm referring this case to the district attorney's office for potential criminal charges. Darnell's face went white. Rochelle started crying. Furthermore, Judge Franklin continued, I'm issuing a restraining order. You are not to contact your mother directly for any reason for the next 12 months. All communication must go through her attorney. If you violate this order, you will be held in contempt of court. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Garrison, the judge turned to me. I'm sorry you had to go through this. No parent should have to sue their own child. But you did the right thing. I hope your son learns from this experience. Thank you, Your Honor. We left the courthouse. Outside, news cameras were waiting. Apparently, the case had gotten some media attention. Elderly woman sues son for theft. Patricia handled them while Judith rushed me to the car. But before we could leave, I heard a small voice. Grandma? I turned around. Amara and Zion stood there with Rochelle's mother, Mrs. Baker. The kids looked confused, scared. I ran to them, hugged them tight. They clung to me like I was a life raft. We miss you, Zion said, crying into my shoulder. I miss you too, baby. So much. Mrs. Baker looked at me with tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry, Loretta. I didn't know what they were doing to you. When I found out, I told Rochelle she was wrong. She wouldn't listen. I brought the kids here because they've been crying for you every day. Thank you, I whispered. Can we come to your house? Amara asked. Please? I looked at Patricia. She nodded. The restraining order is against your son, not the children. You can see them anytime. That Sunday, I went to church with Amara and Zion by my side. We sat in my usual spot, 3 rows from the front on the left side, where Raymond and I used to sit, where I'd sat alone for 7 years. But I wasn't alone anymore. Pastor Williams preached about restoration, about how God takes what was broken and makes it beautiful again, about how sometimes we have to lose things to find out what really matters. After service, Deacon Morris pulled me aside. I'm proud of you, he said. You did what needed to be done. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. The right thing usually is. 3 months later, Darnell paid back the money. All of it. He had to sell Rochelle's Mercedes, had to take out a loan, had to move to a smaller house. But he paid it back. He sent me a letter through Patricia. I almost didn't read it, but something made me open it. Ma, I'm sorry. I know those words don't mean much right now. I know I hurt you worse than anyone ever has. I know I betrayed your trust. I've been going to therapy, trying to figure out how I became the kind of person who would steal from his own mother. The therapist says I felt entitled, that I thought I deserved things just because I wanted them, that I never learned to be grateful for what I had because you and Dad always gave me everything. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to understand. I'm working on being better. Being the son Dad wanted me to be, the man you deserve. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I'm trying. And I love you, even though I didn't show it. I love you. Darnell. I read that letter 10 times. Then I put it in Raymond's box with all the other important papers, including the trust fund documents. Last week, I called Patricia and asked her to make some changes to Raymond's trust. When Darnell turns 40 next year, he won't get the $375,000. Instead, it'll be split into 3 trusts, one for Amara, one for Zion, and one for Darnell's future children, if he has any more. Darnell will get access to $50,000, but only if he completes a financial literacy course and maintains a budget for 1 full year. The rest will be protected for the grandchildren. Raymond would have approved. These days, I see Amara and Zion every weekend. Mrs. Baker brings them over on Saturdays, and we bake cookies and watch movies and talk about everything. They tell me about school, about their friends, about how their parents are different now, quieter, humbler. Dad said he made a big mistake, Amara told me last week. She's 13 now, old enough to understand some of what happened. He said he hurt you really bad. He did, I said honestly. But people can change if they want to. We'll see. Do you forgive him? I thought about that for a long time. I'm working on it. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. That's deep, Grandma. I laughed. God, it felt good to laugh again. I still go to Mount Zion every Sunday, still sing in the choir, still serve on the usher board. But now, when people ask me how I'm doing, I don't just say, fine. I tell the truth. I'm healing. I'm learning. I'm growing. Judith says I'm a different person than I was 6 months ago. Stronger, more confident, less willing to accept mistreatment from anyone. She's right. Last month, I started a support group at church for elderly people who've been financially exploited by family members. 8 people showed up to the first meeting. 8 people with stories just like mine. Children who stole. Grandchildren who manipulated. Relatives who took advantage. We meet every Tuesday night. We share our stories. We cry together. We heal together. And we remind each other that we're not alone. I named the group Raymond's Legacy in honor of my husband. The man who taught me that love without boundaries is just enabling. The man who knew I'd need to be strong long after he was gone. Yesterday, I got another letter. This time from Darnell directly, not through Patricia. Ma, I know I'm not supposed to contact you directly, but the restraining order expires next week. I wanted you to know that I'd like to talk to you, face to face. No lawyers, no courts, just you and me. I understand if you say no. I understand if you never want to see me again. But if you're willing to give me a chance, I'd like to try to rebuild what I broke. Not because I want money or anything from you, but because you're my mother, and I miss you. And I want my kids to grow up knowing their father is the kind of man their grandfather was. Darnell. I haven't responded yet. I'm not sure if I will. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Some relationships, once broken, stay broken, and that's okay. But some bridges can be repaired, slowly, carefully, with time and effort and genuine change. I don't know which kind of bridge this is yet. Maybe I'll never know for sure. What I do know is this. I'm not the same woman I was when this story started. I'm not the woman who let people take advantage of her. I'm not the woman who stayed silent to keep the peace. I'm not the woman who believed that loving someone meant letting them hurt you. I'm Loretta Mae Garrison, daughter of Birmingham, wife of Raymond, mother of Darnell, grandmother of Amara and Zion, member of Mount Zion Baptist Church for 40 years, survivor, fighter, warrior. And I'm done apologizing for taking up space in this world. Tonight, I'll sit at my kitchen table with a cup of tea and Raymond's picture beside me. I'll think about my options. I'll pray about my next steps. I'll consider whether my son deserves another chance. But whatever I decide, it'll be my decision. Made with wisdom, made with strength. Made with the backbone that God gave me for a reason. Because that's what Raymond would have wanted. That's what I want for myself. And after 68 years on this earth, it's about time I started putting my own needs first. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.